Hello and welcome to the third ever edition of the Kickin Out Of Kayfabe podcast, and welcome to the third time I've tried to record this one. First time, I was very tired. Second time, I was rushing through it, and I'm going to take it slow, this one. I'm going to go slow with this one. First thing I need to mention, three things. Number one, I'm going to rush through these just to get them out of the way. I have found a good way to remember everything for today's Raw and SmackDown review, which is good. Anyway, three things I need to mention. Number one, I do not watch Raw and SmackDown on the network. I watch it on YouTube. This is basically to save both time and to not be up at a bad time in England, because you see Raw and SmackDown both start at 1 in the morning here in England. Number two, in the last episode I did say that New Japan, the style did not interest me, or something. I didn't say it was I didn't say I enjoyed it. I'm going to go back on that and say that I haven't seen enough of it to really make a judgment on it. All I've seen is Shinsuke Nakamura, and he's not interesting. And finally, the final thing that I need to mention before I get into today's Raw and SmackDown review is that last week I did say that I wasn't going to talk about the promos about Golden Truth, and there was actually something really important in that they had a match this week on Raw. But first of all, Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns. This is Raw. Let's start the Raw review. So I was going to say, this is the Raw review, but let's go with the Raw review. Basically, Reigns was talking about his match with Strowman, and then an ambulance pulled up. So obviously, Slammiversary is coming up. Is Braun Strowman going to run in on Scott Steiner? And then at the next Slammiversary, it will be Scott Steiner and Braun Strowman. The winner gets Scott Steiner's theme song, plus a free ambulance. And how that match is going to go down is it's going to be a spear, a jackhammer, a 1, 2, 3 from Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman's new theme will be Scott Steiner's old theme, or new theme. Anyway, so yeah, basically, this ambulance pulled up, and Roman didn't find anything in it. However, Strowman came out, attacked him from behind, and used the ambulance basically as a weapon, and he chucked him into it. And this collision between the two here looked like it hurt, especially when Reigns hit the side of the ambulance. Moving on from that, we then had Finn Balor, the Hardy Boys, Finn Balor and the Hardy Boys versus Cesaro and Sheamus, and Elias Sampson. And basically, an actor, Josh Duhamel, sat in on commentary. And in one of the podcasts I just recorded, that will not see the light of day because it was awful, was that I don't see I don't see any reason why Sheamus should be leaving or having time off to record a movie or to film a movie, because he's the champion, and that just kind of says to everyone he's losing the championship. Well, he and Cesaro are losing the championships at the next pay-per-view to me, because apparently because I think the filming starts soon. So yeah, Finn Balor and the Hardys win. This is fine. I have very little problems with this. The only problems I really have with this is, well, the only problems I have with it are that I don't like the idea of the champions losing consistently up until the pay-per-view where they win. It doesn't make sense to me, really. Then we had the match of the year. The Golden Truth had their end of the feud match, where Goldust basically attacked our Truth before the match even started. Of course, I was being sarcastic for the entirety of that. Goldust also brought in a cameraman, which was completely dressed in gold, which is fine. Anyway, basically, they just kind of fought. It was mainly Goldust attacking our Truth. Who cares is my thing. Who cares? Now time for now, people argue that this is my life, this is your life, Bailey. That whole Bailey, this is your life. There we go. Bailey, this is your life segment on Raw a few weeks ago was the worst segment of the year, if not the worst segment of the decade. You're overreacting. Do you want to know what the worst segment of Raw in the past few years may be? This LeVar Ball segment, number one, LeVar Ball is probably the most cringy person I've ever seen on Raw. From his gangly arms to his mannerisms to everything that came out of his mouth, he wasn't funny. He wasn't entertaining. And that's why basketball is a fake sport and wrestling is real. Anyway, yeah, also his two sons came out, LaMelo and Lonzo. Believe Lonzo just got drafted to the Lakers. I think. I'm pretty sure he did. And LaMelo dropped 2 N-bombs, which was interesting for this week for the news surrounding WWE. Dean Ambrose had come out, and then yeah, he just came out of nowhere basically. But yeah, basically Dean Ambrose showed up, and then there was a match. I'm going by Bleacher Report this week. This week is not sponsored by Bleacher Report, but this is how I do these reviews now. I couldn't find one last week, and that's why everything was kind of all over the place, and it still is. You know. Anyway, yeah, this whole segment was just. I won't be surprised if this ends up on a cringe compilation in the next few months. It was just embarrassing. Miz did the best he could. Maurice did the best she could. I think Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel there. They did the best they could. LeVar Ball was one of the worst guests Raw has had for a while. So yeah. The Miz and the Miztourage defeated Dean Ambrose, Heath Slater, and Rhino after basically Bo Dallas, I guess, raped is the correct word, I guess. He raped Rhino's eyes and then he rolled him up for a pin, I think. I'm pretty sure he did. But anyway, oh, it was Axel. Or was it? I don't know. It was one of them. Yeah, it was Bo Dallas who rolled him up to get the pin, and Axel had raked his eyes or punched him or whatever. Yeah, this was okay. I don't know. I don't watch all the matches on this because I don't see the point. But what I will say is that I don't like the name The Miztourage. The Entourage is a better name for it. It makes them sound more serious. But I'm just glad that Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel, more Curtis Axel, are actually doing things now. You know, Curtis Axel is so underrated, and so is Bo Dallas, and it sucks the position they've been in for so many years they've been on the main roster, and only now they're getting a chance to shine. It's going to be interesting when they first get on the mic with each other, or whenever they first get on the mic, because that's going to be the real test for those guys. By this point, they should be somewhat decent on the mic. But anyway, then we had Enzo and Cass carried on their feud, and basically Enzo came out and he basically started talking about how he hated the fact that he lost his friend and a partner or whatever. Big Cass then came out. He then he then basically tried to make up with Enzo, and then they basically just said we're back, we're team soft, whatever. Did the SAWFT thing, the music played, went up to the ramp, and then Big Cass clobbered him and then threw him down the entrance ramp, which you've got I'm not the biggest fan of Enzo, but I will say he is a really, really good seller. He's one of the best on Raw, due to his kind of ragdollish look, I guess. This was fine. The only thing I didn't like was the whole, I'm going to turn on you one week, and I'm going to make up with you only just to turn on you again. Because I don't think Big Cass was the right guy to pull that off. He's not the most seasoned on the mic, really, is he? But, Anyway, then we have the second best match of the night. Kurt Hawkins versus Seth Rollins. This was just a nothing match. It was basically just to have Bray Wyatt show up on the screen and say that he wants to have a match with Rollins, which they are now at Great Balls of Fire. I don't care for this match because Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt hasn't turned up on Raw recently, has he? I don't remember him turning up on Raw. Maybe he's just going to be on the Titantron until he wrestles a match and it comes up. Maybe they're trying to do that where he doesn't appear on Raw. He only appears in, on the Titantron, which is fine. But a physical human is better than an imaginary one when it comes to segments. That sounded really weird, and I tried to save it, but it didn't. It didn't work. Anyway, we've gone 10 minutes already. I thought. See, last time I recorded this bit, I was 20 minutes in. Anyway, yeah. Seth Rollins, he's kind of over, isn't he? He's okay. They're both okay. I like both men. I think they're both good. Seth Rollins is good in ring. Bray Wyatt's good on mic. He's also decent in ring. You know what? For all the praise fans give Bray Wyatt, for all the praise they give him, he's not the best in the ring, is he? No. But anyway, there was also a segment with Brock Lesnar and Samoa Joe in this one. Basically, Paul Heyman came out, and he basically was talking about what's going to happen to, Samoa Joe. He started bigging up Brock Lesnar for his match at Great Balls of Fire. And then Brock Lesnar came out. He came out, did his whole entrance thing, but before he could finish it, Samoa Joe came out and basically tried to get the coquina clutch on him. And another person who is also very good at selling is Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar is, to me, another one of the best people on Raw. Apparently everyone's the best on Raw when it comes to me, but also the worst. He tried to get the coquina clutch on him twice, Samoa Joe did. 3 times actually, but it was only the 3rd time where it kind of seemed to do the most damage, because the other 2, he basically got out of it the first 2 times. Then there was a match between Lince Dorado and Neville. I really like Lince Dorado. Lince Dorado, I like. It's just a shame he won't be doing anything on 205 Live or on Raw this week. Akira Tozawa was at ringside for this match, and it does suck how he's not using his German suplex, which was better than everyone else's German suplexes that they do, because his was out of nowhere. I think I may have said this on the last one. I could have done. He should have just used that as like an out of nowhere finish type thing. This match, which is going to be between Neville and Tozawa. Neville obviously won their match with Lince, but the match between these two should be very good, because Akira Tozawa is a really good worker. He's really good in the ring. Neville also. But the thing is, Akira Tozawa's not winning. He's not winning. Neville was going to retain that belt, and it sucks because I really like Akira Tozawa. I think he's great. The only thing is, he's not winning that belt. However, the thing is, with Neville, this is something that I've been wanting to say for a bit, or I've been thinking about recently as well. Neville's not that really good a champion. Really? Is he? He's not the most interesting of champions. He had the whole redemption story, but he's just kind of boring now. And while his promos are fine, while his in-ring work is good, I just don't find him interesting. He's just kind of boring. I don't know. It's just something about him that it doesn't make me... I don't see what everyone else sees when it comes to Neville. Anyway, and then we had the main event, which was the worst book thing of this entire week, I think, in terms of wrestling. Basically, it was a number one contenders match for Alexa Bliss's Raw Women's Championship. Basically, it was a gauntlet match between Bayley, Nia Jax, Emma, Dana Brooke, Sasha Banks, and Mickie James. Basically, a gauntlet match is when 2 women start off in the ring, or 2 people will start off in the ring, and then first person will get beat, next person will come on in. It's a bit like a Royal Rumble, but they don't come in at time intervals. They come in when one person's been eliminated. So basically, Bayley and Jax started out the match straight away. I did go to say Banks then, but Bayley and Nia Jax did start out this match, Jax did pin her, like, easily, which is... There's been a few murmurings and a few discussions arising now about Bayley turning heel. Turning heel does not help anyone in some cases. People say, oh, turn them heel, it will change their character. Yeah, it'll change their character, but if they're doing the same thing, it's not going to do anything. You know, look at TJ Perkins. TJ Perkins has turned heel. He's still got the video game music. He's still dabbing. He's still cocky. He was always cocky. He was a cocky face. Figure that one out. But turning someone heel does not always work. It doesn't. Look at Dolph Ziggler. Dolph Ziggler was, you know, he was like fighting for one last chance, and now he's turned heel, and he hasn't done anything. Now that is of course partly WWE's fault for not booking them in a good way. But at the same time, if the person who is turning heel is not going to change their gear or anything, I imagine when you change your gear, it needs to be approved. Especially with Rey Mysterio's gear, because I listened to a interview with him at one point where he was saying that it was very close to getting like a lawsuit against him or something for copyright because of the costumes he had. But I don't think Bayley's going to do well as a heel. She's not a heel. She's very bad on the mic as it is. Turning her heel, where heels typically talk a lot more than babyfaces, in my opinion, or I believe need to talk a lot more than babyfaces. It's going to be a bit of a struggle for her. Nia Jax then basically plowed through James and basically did squash Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke looked good in the short second she was in this match, which is, you know, good. Then there was Emma, I believe. I think she came out as well. Yeah, I think Emma came out. I think she was the second to last one, the penultimate woman to come out, and she also got squashed. Then Banks showed up, and this is where my problems lie. Number one, Sasha Banks. I'm going to say this now, and I stand by this. She is the worst woman on Raw, and she's also the worst woman on SmackDown. And you could be saying, she's not. She's great on the mic, she's great in the ring. She's not. She's shit on the mic, she's shit in the ring, she's boring, she's somewhat injury prone, which isn't good. Why would you put your title on someone that is injury prone? Okay? Now, she hasn't had many injuries recently, and everyone has injuries. But throughout her time as champion, she was getting dropped on her head. She was being contorted in weird positions. And the thing is, I may go back on that whole injury prone thing. Actually, I will. Okay, say it now as well. She's not injury prone, but the thing is, she is very frail, and that's, I guess, what I'm trying to say here. She is very frail, and I don't believe you should put the title on her. Just like you shouldn't put the title on Naomi, because she's shit in the ring as well. Banks won using the Bank statement, which means Nia Jax tapped out. And I know Nia Jax has tapped out before to Becky Lynch at Survivor Series. But the thing, I mean, some people could say, "Oh, but she went through four other women." She didn't really though, did she? She like fought Bayley for like 2 minutes, pinned her. She like defeated Dana Brooke and Mickie James under a minute combined, and then she beat Emma also quickly. So she didn't go through 4 women. She went through half of a match, basically. And then Sasha Banks put on like somewhat of a fight, and then made her tap out to the Bank statement, which is just basically a shit backstabber into a STFU. This is dumb. I don't know why Jax should be tapping out. You could have at least had Jax, I don't know, win this match, and had her, I don't know, maybe when she was on her head, because the way she got her was in like a weird position where she'd had like the Bank statement on her, and it was like she was almost like kneeling, but she was like bent backwards. It was kind of a weird position. It's not the typical Bank statement. But when she was going down to her knees, Nia Jax was going down to her knees because she was being worn down. She should have just electric chaired her. She should have just used. She should have just done an electric chair move on it, or whatever they're called. I don't know. She should have just slammed it into the mat. It's a bit like the Black Widow, AJ Lee's old submission maneuver, where people could literally just fall back and then get the pin. But anyway, then after Banks won, Alexa Bliss came out, and then basically, she then got kind of booted out of the ring, and then Sasha Banks held the title to end the segment, and that was Raw. Raw was shit this week. It was boring. Nothing really kind of exciting happened. Yes, you had Brock Lesnar, yes, you had Braun Strowman, but those two things were only two segments. It was a bit like the other week on Raw, where there was a big brawl between Brock and Samoa Joe. Was that last week? I don't know. Anyway, no, it wasn't. I don't think it was. Anyway, there was a big brawl between Samoa Joe, wasn't there? And that was all cool. But then the rest of the Raw was a bit meh. The ending of this, while it was feel good for fans of Sasha Banks, Sasha Banks should not be getting a title match anytime soon. She needs to improve in the ring. She needs to improve desperately on the mic. But anyway, let's talk about SmackDown. Now, SmackDown this week, I did label it last week as dumb, basically due to the fact that there is a second Money in the Bank ladder match, which basically rules the first one. It rules the inaugural women's Money in the Bank ladder match obsolete. It does, because the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match with women in it, the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, is basically, it doesn't exist, because Carmella won it, but then you're gonna strip the Money in the Bank briefcase from her, only for her to win it again. But anyway, this SmackDown was okay. Basically, Daniel Bryan kicked off the show, and basically Carmella and James Ellsworth came out. They basically just kind of cut a promo on basically that she was kind of she was basically wronged. She shouldn't have been she shouldn't have had the Money in the Bank briefcase taken off her. She should still have it. She should still be Miss Money in the Bank. Ellsworth then basically got into Bryan's face, saying he was spineless and gutless, and saying he created a fake injury because he could no longer cut in the ring, which I thought was the best promo Ellsworth has cut for a while. He does his job very well, Ellsworth. I think he's not he's not the best talker on the mic, and he's not the best wrestler, but he doesn't need to be. Like, I say this about other wrestlers. I say, oh, he's not the best on the mic, and he's okay in the ring, but he's not really good overall. Let's say someone like, I don't know, Shinsuke Nakamura, who's very boring. Ellsworth, his gimmick is that he is a jobber. He doesn't need to wrestle good. So it remains entirely on his skill to do spots. But anyway, basically, Bryan basically said he's not going to ban him from ringside. He's going to ban him from the entire arena. He's going to ban him from the entire arena, which he did. And then Carmella basically just stood there in the ring and was like, "What can I do about this?" Yeah, this podcast has been going too long already. Then we had, again, match of the year, Hype Bros vs the Usos. My man Mojo Rawley did not get pinned in this one, but Zack Ryder did. People are saying I would like to see Mojo turn on Zack Ryder, because I think heel Mojo would be very interesting. But again, a heel turn doesn't always cure a character. If anyone needs it, Zack Ryder needs it more, because Mojo Rawley could be the next John Cena. He really could. The New Day arrived after the match had ended, and basically they had a promo back and forth, and basically then a rematch was scheduled for the SmackDown Tag Team titles at Battleground. The promo was fine, it was good. Speaking of something that wasn't fine, was the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Naomi and Lana. First of all, I'm not a fan of Naomi, probably as you can figure out from this podcast already. And a lot of people on the internet like to say that people who don't support Naomi, people who do not like Naomi, are racist, and that is the largest mound of shit I have ever come across in my time of wrestling and talking about wrestling and watching wrestling. I don't get why not enjoying someone as champion is racist. Oh, I'm apparently racist because I don't enjoy Kevin Owens as the United States champion. You know, it's stupid. It just is. Naomi shouldn't be champion. Lana with the championship would be like heel gold, which isn't the gold you want, but it would be like, it would be great, I think, for both SmackDown and for Lana. Naomi should not have won at Money in the Bank, in my opinion, and you could argue that Lana is unprepared and she's she's not a very good wrestler. That's fine, but at the end of the day, Naomi cannot be champion for another month because I cannot stand her promos. She's not very good. She is underwhelming in the ring. She's not interesting in the ring. And also, Lana did control the screaming in this match, because at the Money in that match, that's all she was doing. Randy Orton cut a pretty good promo, which was good. And now this is the thing I'm really excited for. This is probably the best thing I'm excited for. Now, Randy Orton basically was talking to Shane, and he basically gave him a match, because basically Randy Orton believes that he needs to have a rematch with Jinder Mahal because basically they disrespected his family. You know, they attacked. Well, they put their hands on Bob Orton Jr. at Money in the Bank, and this basically has caused Randy Orton to feel as if his family has been disrespected. So basically, what he's going to do is he wants another championship match. Shane McMahon comes out. He basically says you can have one, but Mahal gets to pick the stipulation. And this stipulation is a match I have never seen before. I have never watched any of these matches before. I believe there's two in existence, potentially with the same people in it. I only know two people that have ever been in it. I don't know if the second one had these two people in, or the first one had these two people in. I don't know. But basically, Mahal came out and said that they're going to have a Punjabi prison match. It's basically a double Hell in a Cell. No, it's more like a double steel and it's more like two steel cages type thing. And it is reinforced with steel bamboo, according to JBL, which is great. This is really good. I think this is really good. Basically because, number one, this is going to prove to a lot of people potentially how good or bad Jinder Mahal is. Putting him in a steel cage match or something like that would also show this, but I believe putting him in a Punjabi prison match would also be, which is going to be very good. I'm really excited for this match. Like, weirdly, I'm not excited for the Samoa Joe one, which is like, a dream match for some people. I'm more excited for a Punjabi prison match between Jinder Mahal and Randy Orton. Probably, arguably, two of the most boring people on the roster. Even though I do really like Jinder Mahal, they're not the most exciting people on the roster, are they? There's been two of them, as I said, and this is, of course, the Battleground main event. So yeah, it's good to see different stipulations instead of just triple threat, last man standing. I mean, we haven't seen the last man standing match in ages either, so it would be nice to see more stipulations every now and then. Mike and Maria Kanellis kind of had a promo, but then Sami Zayn kind of interrupted him and basically went to the ring, and they kind of just went back in, I imagine. This is potentially going to hint at a program between Sami Zayn and Mike Bennett, which I don't care for. Mike Bennett, I've seen very little of his matches. From what I've seen, he's not very good in the ring. He's also very boring on mic. Maria Kanellis, I don't get why people are excited for her at all. She was bad when she was first in WWE. She's improved somewhat. She's okay on the mic, but she's just not interesting. She's the female Miz, if Miz was shit and boring. Anyway, basically they had a match. Sami Zayn and Baron Corbin had a match with each other. Baron Corbin, of course, defeated Sami Zayn as he should be. I think over the next few weeks, Baron Corbin will be highlighted a bit more. You know, he's missed Money in the Bank, but he hasn't really. The focus has been more on the Miss Money in the Bank thing, which is, I guess, fine because it's their first ever year of doing it. But I do think that maybe there should have been equal, not more, but equal kind of promotion for Carmella and Baron Corbin, and that should be the thing going forward. About cashing in, Carmella, I think, should cash in on whoever wins. I think Becky Lynch should win the championship next. I do think that it should be Naomi versus Becky Lynch, as kind of like a friendship match thing, or whatever, you know, like how they're like two baby faces go together, they've like got respect for each other type thing. Don't know why I said friendship match, I don't care. They go against each other, and Becky Lynch wins, and then Carmella's music hits, and she hits the ring and defeats her, because that would be, it would also kind of potentially lead to a match with Ellsworth and Becky Lynch, if Ellsworth and Carmella are still together. But to me, it makes sense for Becky Lynch to win the championship next, because I understand, you know, you've got people like Tamina and Natalia who desperately are in need of a good program. I mean, Tamina, she's been on the roster now for a while, so is Natalia, but Tamina, I think, she needs to win a championship at some point, you know. She's the daughter of Jimmy Snuka. She needs to do something substantial in WWE rather than I understand she was in the first ever women's Money in the Bank ladder match, but I mean, can you name the people that were in the first ever Royal Rumble or Money in the Bank? I can't, but then again, so I don't really know who was in the first Money in the Bank. So yeah. Anyway, then we have the main event, which was the Money in the Bank ladder match rematch, and basically, I heard that this match was okay. From what I saw on YouTube, on the YouTube clips, everything looked fine. Like all the spots were better, and basically Carmella won again. James Ellsworth actually did come out late in the match and try to recreate the finish of the pay-per-view main event, well, not main event, the opening match. But then Lynch basically tipped the ladder over and caused him to get nutted by the ropes. And then basically the last kicker. I'm reading from the Bleacher Report. I'm just basically going with it. I will be making an announcement at some point at the end of this review. So it's about the quality of the podcast, but we'll get to that in a minute. Becky Lynch tried to climb up the ladder. Carmella pulled her off the ladder and basically Carmella basically hit her with a chair, which they remembered it was no hold barred, and they can use other weapons. And basically Carmella basically just hit her with chair shots and then climbed the ladder for the win. Carmella having the briefcase was good, which is good, which is a good thing. I did forget to talk about Baron Corbin, how he's going to win. Baron Corbin should not win the belt until late or early next year. Late this year, early next year. But Carmella with the briefcase is very good, and it doesn't fit anyone else, really. You could argue Charlotte, but does Charlotte really need any more? Like, Charlotte hasn't really been pushed. You know, Charlotte's in a very similar position to Bayley. I mean, she hasn't been booked as badly as Bayley, but she's still in that kind of position. And the thing is, she doesn't need it. While Bayley really needs something to boost her up, well, Charlotte doesn't, because Charlotte's basically floundering at the moment. But she doesn't really. It doesn't bother her because it doesn't affect her as much as people would think. But and then Becky Lynch doesn't really need it either. And I think Tamina would be good with it. So would Natalia. But Carmella's probably the best of them all. This week of SmackDown was good, or it was semi-decent. Raw was okay. It was kind of boring. I need to apologise very quickly about the quality of this episode. I have recorded this one 3 times now. I got 20 minutes into the first one, 10 minutes into the second one. We've gone 30 minutes today, 35 minutes almost. So that's an improvement. Announcement I want to make. potentially, the next Kicking Out of Kayfabe podcast will have a special guest joining me for the Raw and SmackDown reviews. So, yeah, that's a really good a really good promotion for the next edition of the Kickin Out Of Kayfabe podcast. But anyway, as I said, this week in Raw and SmackDown were okay. There isn't really anything that's exciting except for the Punjabi prison match. I guess I am excited for that match, but it's not. It doesn't make a week of wrestling exciting. It's just there, and it's like, oh, that'll be cool, but everything else is just gonna be a bit meh. But anyway, I think that'll do for this week in the Kickin Out Of Kayfabe podcast. As I said, next week I will probably be joined. I may be joined, or maybe the week after, or maybe at Great Balls Fire pay-per-view, which I will be doing next week. I will be joined by a guest, hopefully. So look forward to that. But that was it for this week in Kickin Out. For this, I'm starting over my words. We're 36 minutes in. I can't exactly restart this one, can I? No, that was it for this week of the Kickin Out Of Kayfabe podcast. I've been your host, and again, I apologise for my monotone voice. I am also very tired, like I was in the first ever Kickin Out Of Kayfabe podcast. I'm also very tired now, and I've been doing this for over an hour, basically. So yeah, anyway, thank you for listening, and goodbye.